let's look at some of the people who have created this technology that we all have amongst us now, that have made our lives a lot easier, a lot more connected. We communicate a lot more easier, and a lot more things we can do. So the first and foremost example we can give is, if we look at Bill Gates. So Bill Gates, founder of Microsoft, all the tech we're using, this device is from his, from his brand. But his children in his home, they do not have smartphones. So in 2007, Bill Gates, he implemented a cap on screen time when he started seeing that his daughter developed an unhealthy attachment to video games. So then he put a cap on it. And also he didn't let any of his children have a phone until they're 14. And a lot of average children today, you see it from about, the average is from around 10 a child gets a smartphone. This is the kind of average. And you see one of the leaders in the tech world, the founders of Microsoft, he is the one who bans the use of smartphones until the daughter is 14 and caps the screen time in their homes. Another important individual was creator of the iPhone and the iPads, all of those things, Steve Jobs. Obviously he's passed away, but in interviews before, he says he bans the iPad in his house. He's the man who came up with the concept of the iPad, created it, but in his house it's banned. What does that tell us? He's creating something to sell to the masses, but he knows the harms of it and he bans it in his own home. In a 2011 interview with the New York Times, he said, we limit how much technology our kids use at home. And he says, actually, we don't allow the iPad in the home. We think it's too dangerous for them, in effect. So he's the creator of this, yet he's saying, I don't allow my children to use it. It's too dangerous for them. So I think, if you take some lessons just from that and think of the harms actually that are associated with these things. Another one, the Waldorf School. So Waldorf School is one of the most sought after schools in Silicon Valley. So Silicon Valley is the tech world, isn't it, where all the tech companies and the giants are. Now in Silicon Valley, this Waldorf School, where all of these tech giants send their kids, is noticeably very low tech as a school. And in fact, they ban electronic devices for all under 11s. And even more so, do you know what they do? They use chalkboards and number 2 pencils. So they don't even go into why you've got iPads and technology. They actually use chalkboards and pencils. And instead of the children, you'd assume, like a lot of the schools, sometimes they're good, but it's to get a perspective. I know my children in school, they now have it where they learn to code from a young age. They do coding. They said, so you think, okay, these are tech giants, they're children, they're going to learn these things. But in fact, they don't learn to code at Waldorf School. They're taught soft skills such as cooperation, respect. So this mu'amalat, these interactions, because one thing they've realized, this technology is taking this human interaction out of everything. We no longer have this physical human interaction. And we all know, even within adults, the impact it has on us, that we might be in a family gathering, we're all sitting there in the room, or amongst brothers and friends, and everybody is present physically, but everybody's on their phones. They're all somewhere else. They're actually not there by mind. And so you can see that how they teach their children and how they're preserving, protecting their children from the harms of what they've created, yet allow the masses to consume it. And there was an American research that took place with eighth graders, so about year 9, about 13, 14-year-olds. And they saw that the risk for depression, it jumped 27% when the child frequently used social media. So you can see the connections generally between the use of social media and depression, and it leads to obviously things that are far worse than that. And they said that kids who use the phone for at least 3 hours a day are much more likely to be suicidal. And that they show that recent research found that teen suicide rates in the US now eclipse the homicide rate. So with smartphones being the driving force. So actually teen suicide is higher than the homicide rates, murder. Because again, main thing you're looking at is down to smartphones. And one thing, again, a psychologist study in Iowa State University found that kids who exceed the recommended 2 hours per day of screen time were 1.5 times to 2 times more likely to have attention problems in the classrooms. So you can see excessive use of these things creates a lot more harm. So while we bring our child and we're giving them the phone and they're using the phone hours upon end, or a tablet hours upon end, or at home TV and all of these other things, YouTube and so on, hours upon end, we don't realize what we're doing because their brains are still growing and they're getting wired. And through this process, we're actually causing a lot more detrimental harm to them than we expect.